Tonight's homework is working on perpendicular lines. So lines that are perpendicular, line segments or rays that are perpendicular are two lines, one being here, the other is causing it to create a right angle. So the perpendicular parts are the two lines. This line is perpendicular to this line. The proof that we have that they're perpendicular is the fact that they make a right angle. So students should have came home again with their 90-degree measurement tool that they can use on this. Otherwise, they can use the understanding that they should be able to see a 90-degree angle anytime there is a two lines that happen to be perpendicular. So what students are going to do is they're going to trace the perpendicular line. So for instance, in the bookcase, they may want to trace this side to this side as these are perpendicular line. They can find as many pairs as they want. Explaining how they're perpendicular, that's where students would talk about how they form that 90-degree angle. All right, on the grid below, students are given line segments and they should draw a line that is perpendicular. Using a straight edge, they can simply use a ruler or they can use like the edge of a notebook. That will work too. The thing they want to be careful about is how they do it, specifically here where you see they're across a diagonal line. The way to make it perpendicular is if this part here is cutting the diagonal, the perpendicular line should cut the other diagonal. So as you can see, I'm cutting here, the diagonal line here, and that will create that. Same for this. These are cutting kind of across two diagonals, so students, when they make a perpendicular line, would want that opposite line to be cutting across two as well. These should be relatively easy because this one is horizontal and this one is vertical, and students should be able to draw the opposite horizontal line in this one and a vertical line in this one to create those perpendicular. Here is something that we practiced a little bit in class, and some students seem to be able to get it, others seemed a little confused. So we know that perpendicular lines make a right angle. What students were struggling to understand is that we're talking about the two line segments. So we're talking about line segment, wrong one. Talking about line segments, in this case AB. So we're talking about how this line segment up here and this line segment on this side come together to form a right angle or a perpendicular to each other, perpendicular lines. So you can see here the students have practiced this in class today where they write the two line segments AB. This symbol is the perpendicular to BD. They're going to be able to find anytime they see a right angle, those two sides are perpendicular. So it's important for kids to understand we're not naming the angle, but what we're doing is naming the two line segments. So if I look over here at this one I just made, it's line segment AC, and it is perpendicular to line segment CD. So I'm talking about each side here as a line segment. So they started 4A. When they have a right angle, they're going to do that. If there are no right angles, students would just leave those alone. So for instance, you can kind of see in B, they don't really have any right angles, so therefore they don't have any perpendicular lines. Same with D. Circles obviously are all curved line, they wouldn't have those. And same with G. The rest should all have examples of perpendicular lines and right angles. So students would not only want to make the right angle, but name the perpendicular lines for each one.